What if modern luxury began not with a runway but with a rectangle? Before monograms wrapped billboards and airport lounges, there was a boy on a dusty road in rural Jura, France, walking toward Paris. Louis Vuitton left home at 13 after his mother died and his father remarried, apprenticing his way by foot to the capital. Paris in the 1830s was a city of horses and steam, of aristocrats and industrialists, where the best luggage was built by hand for people who traveled with their lives in tow. Vuitton became a packer, an artisan who arranged gowns and top hats in trunks so nothing wrinkled, nothing broke, and everything emerged ready for the next salon. He studied not just wood and leather, but the choreography of travel itself. Trunks of the era were domed like roofs to shed rain and to signal prestige. That made them impossible to stack. Vuitton's first stroke was to flatten the top. A simple line changed everything. Flat-top trunks could be stacked in ships and rail cars. They wasted no space. They treated travel like a problem to be solved, not a parade to be staged. In 1854, with a sign above his shop reading, "Securely packs the most fragile objects," Louis opened his atelier on Rue Neuve des Capucines. He was not selling status, he was selling solutions: lightweight poplar frames, waterproof canvas, and interiors tailored to the owner's life. Then came steam. Railways stitched Europe together, steamships collapsed oceans into schedules. Travel multiplied, so did the needs around it. Vuitton's answer was modular thinking. He built trunks for wardrobes with hanging space and drawers, for toiletries, for hats, for shoes, for documents, for everything a life in motion required. The genius lied in two quiet decisions: standardize the exterior sizes so they stacked and fit carriage dimensions, and customize the inside so each owner felt seen. Luxury became logistics plus intimacy. As the atelier grew, so did imitators. Counterfeits chased his striped try-on canvas, competitors cribbed his shapes. Vuitton treated imitation as data and iterated his brand like an engineer. First the beige and red Railly canvas, then 1888's damier checkerboard with Marc L. Vuitton déposé printed right into the pattern, a legal line embedded as texture. He introduced a patented, unpickable lock with 2 keys and staged a stunt to prove it, daring escape artist Harry Houdini to break one, a challenge that made headlines whether or not the performance happened exactly as legend tells it. Form and function fused into theater. Family widened the lens. Louis's son, Georges, returned from managing foreign markets with a global appetite. After Louis's death in 1892, Georges took the reins and faced a modern problem. The more desirable the trunk, the more brazen the counterfeit. His answer became one of the most recognizable patterns on earth. In 1896, he created the monogram canvas, interlocking L and V, plus flowers and quatrefoils inspired by the Japanese Mon and Gothic motifs that fascinated Europe at the time. The monogram announced a truth about luxury that still holds. The object must be superb, but the code that declares its origin must be unmistakable. A logo could be armor. The workshop at Asnières, opened in 1859 on the Seine's edge, hardened the craft into a system: light woods, brass hardware, hand-tacked canvas, looms weaving patterns to Vuitton specs, every step recorded, refined, and taught. Trunks were born here for royal courts and maharajas, for explorers and opera singers. Some opened to reveal library shelves and secret compartments. Others unfolded into writing desks or held crystal and porcelain size to survive an ocean crossing. Each new commission stretched the vocabulary of what a rectangle could do. Luxury in the 20th century drifted from steamer trunks to suitcases, from station platforms to jetways. But Vuitton's principles didn't change: design for real travel, control quality from workshop to window, protect the brand codes, and place stores where the journey begins. Boutiques became stages, glass and wood, bright as galleries, disciplined as laboratories, because the selling of luxury is also the setting of expectations. A purchase shouldn't feel like a transaction. It should feel like a ritual. Gaston Louis, Georges' son, deepened the house's library of ideas, collecting antique locks, travel guides, and trunks from other centuries to feed the next. He believed that modernity was a conversation with the past, and he trained artisans to be historians as well as makers. When planes and automobiles redefined distance, the house adapted the hardware and the weight. Canvas stayed loyal to its brief: tough, water-resistant, lighter than leather, and friendlier to the seasons. The late 20th century turned heritage into horsepower. A merger created LVMH, and a designer named Marc Jacobs arrived in 1997 to translate trunks into clothes and runway stories. Collaborations reframed the monogram: Steven Sprouse's graffiti, Takashi Murakami's multicolor bloom, Yayoi Kusama's dots, provoking questions that kept the code alive. How far can you bend a symbol before it breaks? Each experiment enraged purists and recruited new devotees, a tension that great brands must learn to hold. Meanwhile, the core business, the business Louis built, kept humming. Made-to-order trunks left Asnières for clients who wanted a desk that traveled, a jewelry safe the size of a nightstand, a whiskey bar that unfolded like a magician's box. Hard-sided pieces joined soft luggage in airport carousels, and the company guarded its standards the way a watchmaker guards tolerances. Stitch counts per inch, the snap of a lock, the particular honey of the brass. A monogram is only as strong as the thing it protects. What precisely did Louis Vuitton invent? He didn't invent the trunk. He invented an approach to luxury whose grammar still governs the category. First, listen to how people actually live and move, designed for that, not for a museum. Second, standardize what should be invisible: the sizes, the supply chain, the fit with the world's infrastructure, so the visible can be singular. Third, protect your codes relentlessly, because codes carry trust across distance and time. Fourth, make the store an experience that assembles craft, story, and service into one emotion: assurance. Assurance is luxury's rarest material. It is the difference between buying and belonging. When a traveler heaves a worn trunk into a new life, when a young buyer opens a box and sees canvas that looks like the picture and hardware that feels like it will outlast a plan, when a repair is taken as seriously as a sale, that is assurance. Vuitton turned assurance into an industry standard. The modern luxury customer expects white glove service, consistent quality, wait lists that protect desirability, and architects who treat a boutique like a small museum. Those expectations didn't fall from the sky. They were stacked, one rectangle at a time. There is a cost to being everywhere. The house learned to guard scarcity without faking it, to scale without eroding soul, to grow while insisting that a return to Asnières for a repair is a pilgrimage, not an inconvenience. In an era of speed, it taught patience. New patterns appear when they earn their place. Archives are not plundered for novelty, but consulted for integrity. Even when fashion swirls like weather, the trunk maker's stubbornness anchors the brand. Walk into a flagship and you can still sense the carpenter's square in the air. The grain of wood on a display shelf echoes the frames of the old trunks. A travel book sits beside a hard-sided case whose corners flash brass like jewelry. A sales associate asks not just what you want, but where it will go. On a train to Lyon, in an overhead bin to Los Angeles. Into a hallway where someone will drop keys on it every night for the next 20 years. The conversation is practical, then poetic. It starts with use. It ends with meaning. Stand, finally, in the Asnières workshop. Sunlight pours through the glass roof onto benches that smell of canvas and glue. A craftsperson tests a lock, runs a hand along a seam, lifts a lid that closes with a sound you feel in your teeth. On a wall are photographs of trunks whose owners are gone but whose boxes are ready for another century. This is not nostalgia, it is continuity, the quiet insistence that luxury is not fragile or faddish but built, measured, and repaired. So yes, modern luxury might begin with a rectangle. Not because rectangles are beautiful, but because they are honest. They admit constraints and make room for life. Louis Vuitton saw that the future of elegance was not aristocratic fuss or flamboyance, but order meeting desire in the form of objects that travel well and age better. He taught his heirs to make promises they could keep, then to keep them long enough that the promise became a code, and the code became a culture. Look again at a trunk. It is a room reduced to essentials: walls, corners, a door that locks. It holds what matters, protects it from weather and mishaps, and arrives with you ready for the next chapter. That is why a box with a name became an empire. That is how a boy who started as a packer taught the world what modern luxury feels like. Not loud, not fast, but certain.